Hi, I'm Renee.
And I'm Anthony.
Welcome to Blue Soul Wisdom, a series where we do Blue Soul chats around a particular topic. And in this episode, we are having a chat with a friend of ours who's a sound healer in England. Her name is Angie Latham, and she's with Sacred Earth Sound Therapy, and she interviews us and our guides. We bring our guides through, and we have about an hour and a half chit chat about the soul, about the spiritual journey, awakening, the auric field, and the power of sound as it impacts our energetic body and our overall health.
I think sound is probably one of the most important things that we are as human beings, because we are integrated into sound baths. We are part of water itself, and we know that when we put sound into water, it changes. It changes the frequency. It changes the molecular structure of the water. This is why sound is so important, because when you integrate sound into who you are as a being, you are literally changing who you are as a human being, or the sacred geometry, as our guides will say, of who you are as a being.
So sound is a powerful healer. We use it ourselves. We use crystal bowls, we use Tibetan bowls, we use shamanic drums, we use chimes, we use all aspects of sound, and each of those instruments, if you like, including the human voice, has a frequency. So join us on this journey and tune in and listen to this video as we have this really wonderful dialogue with Angie about sound, about healing, about awakening, and more. So join us. And now let's get started.
So hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Chats with me, Angie Latham. And in these Soul Chats, I'm bringing together people that I really admire and think have something really important to say. Spiritual teachers, healers, and way showers for a new way of living on the planet. And today I'm speaking to Anthony and Renee from Blue Soul Earth, and they are spiritual teachers, healers, and channelers. And it's channeling that I wanted to talk to them about today. Lots of people have heard of channeling. Maybe you've seen some people channeling, especially on YouTube, but maybe you don't really know what's going on, what's the mechanics of channeling, whether anybody can channel, can we all channel? And if we can all channel, how do we do that? And how do we trust the information that we're getting? So I really align with Anthony and Renee, because I love the information that they bring through. To me, it's very authentic. And for anybody watching who may be a bit kind of freaked out by channeling, and especially trance channeling, which is what Anthony does, then I would invite you to listen to the message rather than the messenger. And really, if the message is of love and it helps us to live a more loving and compassionate life, then really, does it matter where it comes from, whether that's our intuition, our higher self, or spirit guides, or galactics, or angelics? So I hope you enjoy this episode of Soul Chat. We cover a lot of information, not just about channeling, but also about ascension. What is ascension? It's a buzzword at the moment. What are star seeds? What is our connection, our personal connection to God, source, universal consciousness, however you want to say it? And how does channeling actually happen in our everyday lives that actually we don't recognize that is channeling? So it's a really interesting conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you want to connect with Blue Soul Earth, any of their courses, or book a private session, then just pop over to the YouTube channel and I'll have all the links below in the information. So thank you for joining me, and please do subscribe, leave your comments, or get in touch if you wish to. So Renee and Anthony, for those that don't know them, they are the founders and the teachers of Blue Soul Earth. And so they're channelers, they're healers. I suppose you'd describe Blue Soul Earth, wouldn't you, as a modern mystery school? Is that how you would describe it?
Oh, that's interesting. No one's really asked that question before. A lot of times it'll come up like, what's behind the name and all of that. I wouldn't call it so much a modern mystery school. I would call it the umbrella to everything that we do, which is channeling, teaching, healing, also spiritual retreats around the world. And so we have Blue Soul everything, right? Blue Soul circles, Blue Soul travel, Blue Soul chats, right? So there's a lot of Blue Soul stuff under that Blue Soul umbrella.
So you offer a lot of services, don't you? From one-to-one readings, group readings, events, retreats. I've been following you on YouTube. Check out their YouTube channel. It's amazing. You've got lots of free videos for people to watch, and the information that you're bringing through is just so heart-led and so needed in this time, I think, in as the world is going through this really difficult phase, and we're kind of moving out of a lot of old ways of thinking and dropping old programmings, social programmings, religious programmings, and really what I love about you is that you're kind of bringing spirituality and science back together, aren't you? And as science kind of progresses, it's able to measure more, so it's able to pick up subtle frequencies and vibrations, and so now we know that walking bare feet on the earth has a positive effect on us as humans. And of course the elders and the tribes knew that for millennia, but science can now prove it, so obviously it's a thing.
And many, many, many more things, right? That's linked together once again.
And so I follow people like Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza and all of these kind of these really exciting teachers that are coming forward that come from a very scientific background. So they're not easily dismissed as kind of just new age woo-woo hippies like people might dismiss me. And it's really exciting to see people that have that credibility starting to come forward and bring that spirituality back into the scientific world, because there shouldn't be that separation, should they? It was always together before probably the Industrial Revolution, would you say? And it's separated, and now I feel we're coming sort of back together.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely accurate. And, thank God for people like Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza and even Greg Braden, whose work we really like. And of course, Deepak Chopra's always really tried to bridge that gap in a respectable way as well. But I do believe that more people are embracing some of the things that come out of like our friend Mark Gober's book, an end to upside down thinking, right? It's just this fascinating look where he interviews all of these people from NASA to, US government officials to major university people out of Carnegie Mellon and Yale and Harvard, who have, really proven through a lot of research about things like telepathy and channeling and connecting to these other dimensions. So it's definitely happening more and more. And then you have people like medical intuitives like Carolyn Mace, right, who is getting respected from major cancer institutions and hospitals and the work that she's doing. So it is happening slowly, but surely.
Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to the day when, people take me seriously instead of that strange woman who just used to dance around on Glastonbury tour with her bare feet. No, I was right all along. Oh, yeah. So, but actually what I want to concentrate today on is actually channeling, which actually is still seen as a bit out there and a bit woo-woo and still kind of maybe seen by some as a bit scary and so what I'd really like today is to try and bring some understanding around the whole, what is channeling? Can anybody channel? Is it just special people that channel? And also I'd really love you to share your own journey with channeling as well, because it's it happens to surprising people, doesn't it? It's not necessarily people that have been, woo woo since birth kind of thing. It's happening to ordinary normal people that all of a sudden, they open up and they start channeling this higher consciousness. And whether it's just our higher selves, or whether it's a galactic or an angelic or an ancestor that we're connecting with, more and more people are doing it. And why do you think that is? Why do you think it's all of a sudden it's kind of really booming and blooming?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we as human beings now have evolved to the point where we are so much more receptive than we've ever been before. Like what you had said in the beginning, that religions no longer are able to hold us back.
Confine us.
The old ideas are slowly just going away. And we are more and more connecting to other vibrations, other frequencies within different vibrational realms, I guess you could say. Within, we're connecting with the ethers, you might say, things like that. And it's just because we're so much more open to it. We're letting go of the fear now too.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And I also think that partially religion, structured religion, as we've always known it, has been filled with so much dogma and held us back, right? Because we've been so fixated on the fear-based, God who's out there, right? And these things and behaviors that, we've had to do, or we feel like we've had to do. It doesn't work for people anymore. People want their own personal freedom and their own way of thinking, and, to know that the strength and the courage and the empowerment lies within, not somewhere out there, right? And, the ancient sages of all time taught that. The Hindu masters taught that. Yogananda and all of Yogananda's teachers taught that. So it's not new, but like you said, that was always the woo-woo people over here, right? And then there were the religious people over here. And now I think it's just kind of all meshing
I think
together.
Also now, as you mentioned before, science is really starting to be able to measure all of these different types of quantum particles and quantum reactions and all of these things. And they're putting that together with spirituality, where it really belongs. As our guides will say, as your science advances, so does your spirituality. And they always say they're becoming one. They always go like this. They're becoming one again.
So, I mean, I think you had a similar upbringing. Well, I think, but were both of you Catholic or brought up as Catholic, or? Anthony was, so that's interesting. Well, you're the one that's channeling. I mean, I was brought up in as a Christian in Church of England, and I used to go to church and I used to sing in the choir, and I loved that feeling. I love that feeling of being connected to Christ consciousness, I suppose, God, or universal consciousness. And then I suppose as I got older and started to question what I was being told, and the sermons and things, and I was thinking, well, that doesn't really add up, and I don't understand why women are less, sacred than men, and what's all this sin, and and this kind of. And then this kind of feeling that you have to go to church, or you have to go to talk to a clergyman or a priest to then get to God.
Get access to God, right?
Yeah.
And that just didn't ring true. And that's a form of separation, isn't it? It's a form of making you feel separated from your own divinity and from the whole. And that keeps you in fear.
There's a lot of aspects of, like Anthony grew up pretty Italian Catholic. I went to private Catholic school for 4 years. So I was kind of initiated, and I was in church choir and all of that while I was at Catholic school. But I was also baptized Lutheran, Episcopalian, Methodist, and what else am I missing? I can't remember.
Catholic.
Yeah, it's just
you've done them all.
I was the Life of Pi. I was the female version of the Life of Pi, where, the family members couldn't really agree on any of the religions. So they kept fighting over where I was going to be baptized and initiated and all that. And they weren't even particularly religious. It's just, I think it was a cultural thing in many, many ways.
I mean, for me, yeah, I grew up in a family, Italian family, where everything, there was a cross on every wall. Just to remind you.
Isn't it weird how we have the symbol of pain and death as a sort of, it's not going to raise your vibration, is it really?
It's going to keep you down. It's going to keep you in your place, right?
And it's funny because then when I was, all of 19 or 18, 19 years old, I went and lived on a kibbutz for a while in Israel, for close to a year, actually. And then I started realizing that all of the Jewish and Catholic mothers were identical.
Yeah.
There was just so much similarity. If we could see the similarities really between the religions rather than what divides us.
Absolutely.
Realize it just comes back to love.
And you touched on it earlier when you said that, all of these different gurus and teachers, they were all teaching the same thing, which is, the divine is within and we are divine, and seek it from within instead of without. And that's really where it's all gone badly wrong, as far as I'm concerned, is that we're just trying to seek things without to make us feel fulfilled within. And of course, you can't fill it from the outside. You have to be full first and then share it with the world and be of service with the world. So, yeah. But what's ironic with me is that, so in my teenage years, I kind of went, I went rebel. and went into, paganism and Wicca and Native American shamanism and all that kind of thing. and then in 2017, bang, angelics, and I was so not an angel person. I always found angel people quite irritating. Sorry, angel people. And kind of fluffy and rainbows and unicorns and things. And it used to just really irritate me. And now I'm an angel girl because it's just, and I've remembered who I am, and I remember that I'm connected to the angelic realm. And one of my guides said to me once when I was kind of really wrestling with this, because I was in resistance to this for a long time. And they said, Angela, you even gave yourself the name Angel with an A on the end, so it was written across your forehead so you would not forget. It's like, okay, I give in, come on then.
That's true, right? Right in the name. That's absolutely true.
So when I had my private session with you and the seraphim came through, and I had all that validation and confirmation, it was kind of, it was really powerful for me. And I think that was my last bit of resistance that went. And it's like, okay, I'm fully open and commit now to being on this kind of path in service.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because in the early days of us channeling, we had so much resistance. And, early days, it was one ascended master, and then it was a collective. And then Mary Magdalene came through, and I'm like, who's she? Really didn't know. Kind of knew,
Well, she's the whore, isn't she?
Yeah, but I kind of knew who she was, but, I didn't know much. And Yeshua, I'm like, okay, that's not cool. That's super religious. Like, out. There was all of that. And then when the angels came, do you remember that moment when the angels came? I'm like pacing across the floor, like, okay, this is not happening. We are not channeling angels. This is like, they're going to call us religious freaks. And all this stuff from childhood, right? Of the crazy angel people. And, then I had reached out to a couple of women who channel angels and realized that, they weren't religious at all. They were super cool. Yeah. We liked the same wine. I thought I can hang out and talking to these girls, So there was all of a sudden breaking down all these preconceived ideas of who these angel people were. But we still, I personally resisted that for a long time until just really we just felt their love, this kind of divine love energy coming through. And when they came through, no matter what state of anxiety I might have been in over something in this earth plane, their energy would just relax me. And the same with the Yeshua energy. And I'm like, okay, I'm not fighting anymore. I get it. Just meditate, just be, just surrender.
But I think this is useful to share with people, because I think it shows that you can't. We've all come to this a little bit kicking and screaming through the programming and the social conditioning and the, and our own human ego as well. But also, we do have to have discernment, don't we? We do still have to. It's no good just believing everything and anything. So we have to be able to have that discernment and to know. And I think that was one of the questions that people really wanted to know from you, is how do you know the difference between your human ego and what your guys call the divine ego? So I'm hoping that they will explain that when they come through, because a lot of people are opening to this now, but I think they're worried that what they're getting, they're just making it up, or it's their ego, or it's not possible, and all of those sort of doubts. So I think
why don't you take that from the Anthony perspective, not just the guides, because it is true, Angie. Like, it's interesting. We're right in the middle of a 4-week course now on how to connect to your guides. And it's astonishing how often that question comes up. Like, how do we know it's not us?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we know it's not, and our guides will often say, well, when you're talking to yourself, you're also talking to us, but you're also talking to your higher self.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first thing I wanted to start out by saying was that how you had mentioned you started out with your shamanic roots, your pagan roots, your Wiccan roots. That's exactly how we started.
Yeah.
We started out with our pagan Wiccan roots, and we made our altars.
And we still have an altar.
We still do. We did our ceremonies, and then as that started to happen, stuff started to happen to us. So we always tell everybody, follow what's most important to you. What is your intuition? What do you feel most connected to?
What do you resonate with most?
Yes.
And go there. And then it will start to, my head starts itching now because I can feel them.
We want to answer this. We want to answer this.
It's so true.
I remember when I did, I shaved all my hair off. I thought I had terrible dandruff, but I didn't. My head just itched terribly. And so follow your intuition and open up, and then it will take you onto another journey itself, because it never ends.
Why don't you talk about the discernment?
Now, the discernment.
Yeah.
That was a little difficult at first when I first opened up. I wasn't sure, we weren't sure who they were, but you have to. I think if you can put yourself in and have the idea that only the highest and the best is allowed to come into your auric field and nothing else.
And by highest and best, we mean of divine love that serves your best interest. And of course, if you're working with clients, the best interest.
But it was funny because I went back again. It's funny. I went back to my Catholicism and I started writing all of my prayers. I created prayers. I put them in Latin. I love Latin still. I just love it. I study it every day. And so I continued to read these prayers every single day. And I would sit and I would do the mantras from yoga. And this is what really helped me to put me in this resonance field, this vibration of love. So if you can always think about you're in vibration of love, then everything that comes through you will come through, as they say, the divine heart, the high heart, the divine ego.
So about like the 7 traditional chakras our guides often speak of. And Magdalene and Yeshua allude to this as well, this high heart, right, which is an aspect or a part of our chakra system, and that's how they connect, right? And they called it the nous, right? In the Gnostic Gospels, right? Yeshua had responded, it was the nous where this connection between divine and human happens.
Yeah, but it takes practice.
Yeah.
It really does.
And I think from my own experience, it took a while to get out of my own head and to learn to move down into the heart, and to get information through the heart instead of through the head, because you don't get very far with the human ego. It will just it'll just doubt everything.
That's exactly right. Very well said.
Yeah.
You don't get it through the ego. You get it through, as they say, the divine ego. That's when you know.
Our guys will always say we work through your emotions and we work through your heart.
Yeah.
And if you want the parallel version for science, Greg Braden puts it very well, where he says the quantum field isn't activated, or it doesn't move, right? It doesn't get activated or shift unless it's words of the heart, right? So it's the same thing, right? It's working through really love in our emotions.
And you are a sound healer.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, even now, when there is a bowl, what kind of bowls are they? The crystal
or
bowls?
The Tibetan ones, either one.
I will automatically connect like that.
Yeah.
Because they ride on the frequencies of these bowls, the Tibetan bowls, shamanic drums. All of these sounds are frequencies which they're related to.
Now, the interesting thing here,
just come through.
Which is kind of an interesting, because we're huge believers in sound healing.
God, yes.
Like you know, I play the crystal bowls and the Tibetan bowls, and but I remember early on, we were at a friend's party, and we used to do these ceremonies, these blue soul circles, and we often would play our shamanic drums because I really resonate with it, and so does Anthony. We have these indigenous, we have feathers all over our house, right? So we have this very strong indigenous, and when you play these shamanic drums, you're calling forth energies and spirit animals from these frequencies, and a lot of people don't realize it. It's just part of ceremony. But, stuff would literally start coming through Anthony, especially when we were in Mount Shasta. And, people's eyes were like this. And I said, well, what did you think? You're calling these energies through when you're doing this, right? Yeah. So it's just when you play the crystal bowls, and I know you went through the same journey, Angie, as well, right? That one day it's like you start playing crystal bowls and you're calling through more of the seraphim and the angelic realms, right? It's just a different frequency. There's no right, there's no wrong, but it depends what you want to connect with.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
be careful what you play.
I mean, the angelic started kind of beating on my door in early 2017, but it wasn't until later that year when I started my sound healing training that was taking down the dam for all of this energy to come through. And it was playing the gong that I started channeling information with the gong. And for the first time, I just thought, oh my God, this is what it feels like to be completely connected with everything. It was just an incredible feeling. And I'm hoping that the guys will talk about sound healing and why it's so powerful, and because it is getting popular. So, and people, what I love about sound is it bypasses that ego mind. It goes straight to the heart. So there's nothing that the mind has to work out. In fact, it just kind of distracts the ego mind. It's kind of like, oh, that's nice, whereas the vibration is getting into the heart. So people might come along for a gong bath just to relax, but actually what's happening, and they don't even have to consciously realize it, is that their higher self is communicating with them. They'll get an aha idea or an inspiration, or that problem that they've been wrestling with, and all of a sudden the answer pops up. And what's really happening, of course, is that their higher self or their guides is giving them the answers because they've opened that channel. So hopefully we'll get into all of that. And
that's absolutely true. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, sound is so powerful. And even for things when it's just the two of us, if we don't get sick very often, it very rarely happens, but especially if Anthony comes down with a cold that he picks up from kids or whatever, I throw him on the ground and put the bowls around him, and I align all of the bowls and the notes with his particular chakras, and then I put the stones on top of them, and I've always got like stones everywhere, like and
then she would, yes, the very powerful. And she was sick about 4 weeks ago.
And
Really
I
sick.
use Reiki on him
Yeah.
too, as well, some Platonic and Pythagorean healing methods as well, and he gets better. It's
And the
not
guides did that with you as well.
they did.
They did exactly the same thing.
They
Yeah.
did.
Again,
yeah.
this is something that the ancients knew about, the pyramids, the Greeks, the Aborigines, all of those ancient cultures used sound. They just knew what they were doing. And it's modern man, so arrogant, that we think we know everything. When we're using all of these lab-based medicines, we're just taking one part of the whole plant and then going and synthesizing it in the lab. So we're leaving all the goodness of the rest of the plant that would have counteracted any side effects from the pill in it, and we've just got to come back to this holistic way of living closer and in harmony with the earth, haven't we?
We need to do that more. I mean, it's funny, I wouldn't say that our prime is indigenous or shamanic anymore. However, I know that I really connect to it just from having so many past lives as a shaman. And so that time I was very sick, I was so out of it. I was literally, when you're so sick, you're not even sure that you're in consciousness. And, I woke up at one point because I heard chanting. The guides were coming through and I could only see just the top because I was kind of on the couch and I could see. And, Anthony is literally doing these chanting and he's got some sticks. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Right. I thought it was like part of a.
That wasn't me. That was the other guys.
That was the other guys working through them, but it was my indigenous chief, right, who was coming through, not the galactic, not the angels, not the ascended masters. And he was chanting and walking around me and, putting shakers across me. And it wasn't until later that I realized he was also stark naked. It's like...
I've got a real mental image now.
It's just funny, right?
Like, take your clothes off.
Yeah.
You have to be completely naked. I'm like, really? Just take your clothes off. And this is the part where you literally let go of your ego.
Yeah.
And you let go of everything. You just let it up. You surrender. Mm-hmm. You surrender and you allow them to come through and work. Because that's what you have to do as a healer. And
Reiki practitioners, right? Which is probably
any healer,
the most accepted or at least known in the world of energy healing, right? Above and beyond all the, other more esoteric ones. And, Reiki healers know this because they're trained in that way, that you are literally just like a bamboo vessel, right? You're just the vessel for which healing takes place. And you have to get yourself out of the way, and you are not responsible for the outcome.
Yeah, I remember one of the teachers in my sound healing course saying, "You're a pipe, not a bucket."
That's right.
I thought that was a great analogy.
It's a great analogy.
Pipe, not a bucket. Yeah. But it also means as well as getting yourself out of the way and letting the divine come through, you're also not giving of your personal energy and supplies, because you shouldn't be completely drained, should you? You shouldn't be completely depleted by healing and giving in service to others. So I think that's something that we're all needing to learn, is that we have to fill our own cup first. And I had a client this morning who was struggling with that very concept. She knew that she should self-care more, but she just felt so guilty about doing it whenever there's that kind of, again, that social program about, you're not being productive by just being and resting. You have to be doing something, and you have to be doing something for other people, because doing something for yourself is selfish. And I think these are really kind of dangerous concepts that need to be shared, and I'd love it if the guides, I'm sure they'll talk about that as well.
They're outdated. They're outdated, that no longer serve us. I mean, this whole self-sacrifice thing, it's funny, when you just spoke, I thought my grandfather is working through you. That was how he lived his whole life, right? And that's how he raised us, is that you have to constantly be doing something just to be sitting and being. Yeah, I swear he's here right now.
So I've just felt Magdalene like wanting to come through and talk to women about self-care and, you know, that kind of thing. So
I guess she will. She will.
Yeah.
I have no doubt, right?
The guys will always tell, what do they always say?
She's waiting in the wings.
It's always good. It's always good to have a good petty manny. They always talk about.
Yeah, because they use our language, right?
Yeah.
They use our language. I have to remind them that not all women see petty manis as self-care. Like a massage, I don't think anyone can turn down.
But self-care is so important, especially when you're doing this work.
And self-love.
Yes, self-love. Above all things.
How can you?
So
you know?
it's just not a luxury anymore, is it? And it's it's essential. And
it is.
yeah. I know, I mean, for lots of people, that's been the gift of lockdowns, is that they were forced to stop and forced to just be. And I know that was part of my journey, that even though I'd switched from the kind of 3D job that I hated into, you know, the sound healing, what I love doing, I was still overworking. I was still giving too much. So when lockdown happened last year and all my work disappeared, I was forced, you know, to stop giving and stop doing for others. So that was definitely part of my lesson with lockdown and the gift of lockdown. You know, once you stop wrestling with the ego, you know, which was, you know, in total panic and fear and frustration. And it, you know, it did take a while, did take sort of like a few weeks for me to settle into the heart and into surrender. And that kind of, you know, when you stop struggling, you float. I love that saying. So shall we bring through the guides? And before we do you want to just talk about how you work together? Because that's part of the thing that I find so magically about how you work together with the divine masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I mean, that's so important, the divine feminine and divine masculine.
So when in the very beginning, we thought it was just coming through me because I was the only one feeling anything. And then
he's the man, of course.
Yeah. And they're like, I don't know, what was it, a year later, maybe? They'll say, Anthony, you have it completely wrong. We come through her first. We don't come to you until we come to her. So they will come through her into me and then back up again. And they always say there's this infinity 8 symbol that's always running between you and her. And
in terms of how the energy flows, flowing, right?
Yeah. Right. Even though she doesn't feel it as much as I do, they can only come through her first. She doesn't have to be present wherever she is. They will come through her first.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's...
But they never want us to be separated.
Ever.
Never,
you know,
ever.
They tell us this all the time. And I'm like, never? Like, what about my women's get-together?
Things like that's okay. Yeah, so that's how it works. And I must admit that I don't feel as comfortable if she's away and they're coming through me.
Even like if I'm off in another room. We were at the New Living Expo a couple years ago and had a booth there, and we were doing some healing work. And I remember, you know, we had a couple people helping us with the booth, but it was this just very busy moment where people had questions. And so I was getting up to talk to some people, and Anthony was still sitting there in trance working with someone one-on-one, and our guides were like, Gaia, they call me Gaia, right? They're like, Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? They wanted me to sit down and be present.
Yeah.
And I thought, but and they're like, no, be here, be present, you know, everything else will just take care of itself.
So in essence, they'll say that we represent divine feminine and divine masculine, again, coming together to teach, to heal, but it also represents what's going on in the earth realm as well. Yeah. That the feminine is starting to be balanced once again with the masculine energy. And when that really occurs, that's when unity of this earth plane, the vibration will, they don't say it literally rises, but it starts to go really fast, like that, faster.
The amplitude.
The amplitude. And the faster.
Back to the sound healing analogy again.
And the faster it vibrates, the closer they'll say you are to source energy.
Or the light.
Or light, or God, or whatever it is.
Oneness.
And I don't think I've spoken to anybody recently that hasn't said what is happening with time. Time is just going so fast. Even through lockdowns, it seems that sort of, the 24-hour day feels like an 8-hour day, and that's part of this vibration, this faster vibration that we're in, isn't it? So
it's kind of moving in a way from our linear to
I like that.
quantum.
I like that, because they'll say your lifetime is nothing more for us as an eye blink.
Yeah.
And they're in their quantum, right?
The quantum. That's time for them.
Yeah, because there is no time. They say that we are part of time and
we
space.
Are time and space.
Itself.
Time and space doesn't occupy us. That we are time and space itself, they'll say.
So everything's circular, right? Everything is kind of, so you see this, right? Through all the ancient symbols. We just ended a 4-week course on sacred geometry. You see it in the earth, you see it in architecture, you see it in even some of the ancient teachings like the Kabbalah and the Bahir, right? All of these, it shows up everywhere. It's interesting. I was just sent something from your part of the world, BBC Earth. They did a piece on the male Japanese puffer fish. How, this fish has like nothing that would really draw itself to it. It almost looks invisible, except it creates this beautiful image, right? In the sand. And it looks like
something from Metatron's.
Yeah, Metatron's cube almost. I mean, it's just incredible.
Well, that's it's as above, so below, isn't it? And
yes,
and there's so many things that we don't even take any notice of, and it's obvious. It's obviously, reflections of the divine, and reflections of heaven, and I think that's beautiful once you start noticing it. But so yeah, should we see who comes through?
There. I don't know if you can hear his breathing is changing. So that's the first kind of sign when they come through to do, to sort of connect to his Merkaba or Merkaba energy body. His breathing slows down and he gets into a theta brainwave state. So yeah, they're eager to come through. As you noticed earlier, you were sensing it. It wasn't always as easy for him to be able to connect like this.
Yeah.
It really took years of fine tuning, right? The frequency, we're all like really walking antennas, and for us to connect our frequency to the frequency of our guides. It happens instantaneously now. Hi, guys.
Always an honor and privilege to be in your presence, Gaia.
Hi, guys.
Thank you for welcoming us.
Oh, thanks for being here. You remember Angie, right? Let's look at my jewelry.
Pretty jewelry. It should be put out so all can see.
Sorry, turquoise.
Because it holds vibrations. Your vibrations. You see, if you wear the jewelry and you infuse it with your vibrations, these are the vibrations that you give to others. But always infuse it with love, joy, gratitude, and grace. And then as you put it out into the universe, it will come back to you in many different forms. That's what abundance is.
Yeah, that's true.
Always an honor to see you again, to feel you again. Your grace, your gratitude, your light, your vibrations.
Thank you.
Thank you. We know you have questions. We are here to answer them as best we can.
In a manner of speaking.
In a manner. Yes, in a manner. We like an expression.
So we were just talking about how you come through Renee first and then into Anthony. Can you kind of explain a bit more about how channeling works, and can anybody channel? Is anybody able to channel?
First, we'll answer this question. Is anybody able to channel? As we always say, you are literally walking antennae or antennas. You're able to connect to anything you desire if you choose. Most of the time, the majority of the time, most human beings are channeling in their own way. Everything that comes through them, they, with the ego, often think that they've created it, but they haven't.
Think of people like Steven Spielberg, right? Robin Williams. He was channeling, right? Artists channel all the time. Musicians channel all the time.
You all channel in your own way. However, if you choose to open up even more, you may create more portals, as you call it. More of the parts of your soul are going to start to light up. As that happens, the chakras begin to spin even faster, faster, faster. The soul starts to expand. You start to expand into the universe and beyond. Such has happened to you.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty crazy ride in the last 3 years. And sometimes I sit here thinking, you know, I've got friends that knew me pre 2017 that probably, you know, are thinking she is off her head now. She's completely lost it.
Well, especially in England, right? You know,
but to me, I feel more alive and more fully expanded and me that I ever have done.
Yes.
So it's interesting. So, guys, what is it that stops people being able to channel and able to connect?
Fear. It's the ego that tells them that what is occurring is not real, but it is real. Just as you have said, you've opened all of the doors, all of the portals. There's no going back now. And we say this, that there's no going back, not because you can't close it. You can if you truly want to. But the question is, why would you? It feels so good to be truly connected to everything, doesn't it, Gaia?
Yeah, and I think back to the fear that they bring up. If you think about people who really, you know, Vincent van Gogh heard angels, like he heard them and people thought they were crazy. I mean, they locked him up. And of course, that was a different time in history, but there are still people who would like to lock you up if you said you were talking to angels. So there is still a little bit of fear, I think, even today, even though channeling is becoming more readily acceptable, there's still a disbelief around whether it's real or not.
And how do we ourselves, if we decide, yes, I want to open up and I want to connect more with my soul and my guides, how can we start doing that and then trusting what comes through? You know, because it's easy, isn't it, at first to have those doubts and think, oh, I'm just making it up, or it's just, how do we kind of trust what we're getting?
Get over the self-doubt.
First, you must be receptive. You must say, yes, I am receptive to receive my higher self and all of that comes with it. Then you must work with individuals like you and them and other healers and to be in a vibration that's going to bring you there and keep you there sustained. Yeah. Once that happens, your soul, which is made up of an infinite amount of vibrations and frequencies, your energetic body all starts to vibrate faster, 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 as you start to connect with source again.
This is why things like chanting and kirtan is so powerful, right? Because it's raising our vibration and it feels so good. And then we want to stay in that resonance field. And when you stay in that resonance field, those things in the so-called real world, right? This physical 3D realm, we're not triggered so much.
Yeah.
Those who think you're crazy are not receptive to the message because they're not ready. For every one that you lose, 10 will come.
I want to pick up on that point, actually, because one of the criticisms that I see, especially online, social media, is that if you're surrounding your people with surrounding yourself with people that are of like mind, then what you're doing is you're putting yourself in an echo chamber, and then you're not listening to other views. But that's not quite the same thing, is it, as kind of surrounding yourself with your tribe? So again, how can people kind of discern whether they're just sort of, blocking themselves out from reality, if you like?
It's a really great question, actually. Really great question.
We're telling you don't have to stop watching the news. You can watch the news. It is most important to be grounded within this earth vibration.
And a lot of people do forget that. So that's really accurate point, because, it's funny, we were jumping on because we're now on Clubhouse, like everyone else is on Clubhouse. And, it's so easy to get pulled into these rooms, these esoteric rooms, and even as channelers, and, we've studied and read thousands of books, and I'm sitting there in a couple of these rooms thinking, I don't understand where you're coming from, who you are, their language is so disconnected from reality. And it's not a criticism so much as kind of what we're all really talking about here, is that they've forgotten to be grounded. And so they're kind of off in the ethers. And so anything that is grounded in science, they're not going to do or touch, right? And that's not balance. It's not balanced to say, I'm never going to use modern medicine, or I'm never going to listen to the news, right? I mean, of course, the news does have kind of a negative vibration.
You must always
at times, but
balance both feminine and masculine, feminine, science and spirituality. Bring them together as one again.
Yeah,
you asked about how we come through her. She is truly the ground cord for him. And that's how it works. She is the grounding energy. He is the energy that goes straight to the heavens. She goes straight into the ground. As the cord is grounded, it stretches up. And this is how you become whole, full, balanced. Balanced again.
And I think probably this kind of disconnection maybe comes from the old kind of like religious connotations that the earth and anything to do with the earth plane is a bit less holy or less sacred than heaven and the angels and things. So guys, can you kind of talk about that really, and how do we kind of bring that back together?
It's a great question too. Coming up with some great questions.
You were, for millennia, believed and led to believe that you are separate from source energy, that you are not divine. We are here to tell you again, you are divine. You are God. You are goddess. It is the divinity of who you are that allows you to be connected directly to source energy, universal consciousness. You do not need the ashram, the church, the synagogue, the temple, or any other place of holiness, as they call them. You are the temple. You are the ashram, the mosque, the church, and all of those other sacred areas. This is why we always tell you, stay clean, think clean, be clean. The great Buddha said, think right, do the right job, say the right words. These are the frequencies, the vibrations of who you truly are. You are all divine.
This is the purification
Yes.
aspect of all the ancient teachings from Buddhism, Hinduism, paganism, the Gnostics, right? I mean, Yogananda taught this, as did his teachers, as well as Yeshua, Muhammad,
That is correct.
Buddha. They all taught this message.
And when you truly find the divinity in whom you are in this lifetime, then you will start to understand that you are working and speaking from the heart, the divine ego, as we call it, not from this ego, but from the divine ego. And you will feel it.
Yes. And that's the difference, isn't it? You feel it. It is a visceral feeling in our bodies. And I mean, I could hear sort of people say, when you said we are God, we are all God, immediately the criticism would be, well, that's really arrogant, isn't it? That's how egotistic and arrogant that is.
No, it's not. Because that's who you are. We're telling you that. You just don't believe
it. Why do people believe that it would be arrogant or egotistic to know that we are God?
Their religions have told them.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, when you think about whether it's the canonical gospels or the Gnostic gospels, Yeshua had said over and over and over and over again, the kingdom is within.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
as within,
yeah, I mean,
so without.
If the Catholic Church wanted to spin that a different way, right? But it's there in print. I mean, not all of it's accurate, right? These things have been edited and refined and changed so many times. But, at the end of the day, the kingdom is within. And every other spiritual guru of our time for thousands of years taught that as well.
It is much harder to allow yourself to be completely independent and to think freely so that you may develop into the light being that you truly are. Many simply don't want to let go, and it's easier to be led. It's always easier to be led. And many times it is the soul's choice, the experience.
Yeah, let's speak about that actually a little bit, about every soul having their own journey and how we can't rescue other people, we can't save other people, we can't wake other people up. Everybody is on their own journey, aren't they? And it's what I think is arrogant is feeling like we should tell everybody every other soul what to do rather than allowing them to have their own journey. So how do we find that balance between living and speaking our authentic truth from the place that we are without impeding or kind of putting our own beliefs on other people?
You mean replacing religious dogma with our own?
yeah, because I do see that in the spiritual community.
We see it too.
Especially through the whole, the QAnon stuff that went on, where everything just went really politically, crazy, and
So think about that, right? Is your guides, if connected to source, going to take a political stance? Come on.
We do not
really, I mean,
involve ourselves with politics or religion or of anything of that matter. You must understand, when you channel, when you connect, your guides are not political. They're not religious. They are simply spirit. And they are here to assist you, to give you guidance, to love you above all things so you may love yourself. We only want the best for you. When a soul has its own journey, allow it to either be receptive to the message or not. As we've always said, it's not always about the message that you give, but it's about how it's being received. You'll know when it's being received, and you'll understand when it's not being received. It is neither good nor bad. It simply is. But as healers and teachers, as you all are, you have a responsibility to continue to allow others to open up if their souls are receptive to it.
Yeah, it's not about pushing the square into the circle, right? I mean,
yeah. Because then we're no different from what's gone on before. And I always, my guide gave me the analogy of being a lighthouse. So you be the lighthouse and you shine out your light so that ships can come to you if they want to. You're not the lifeboat that has to go out and rescue souls. You just have to shine your light and people will come to you.
Oh man, that's beautifully said. It's a great analogy.
But we will also say this.
Gandhi said the same thing, right?
The more you shine your light from source energy and from whom you truly are, they will all come.
Mm.
Whether they are receptive to your light, it's up to you. But they all come. Some see the light come and they'll just go away. Others want to become part of your light as well. So
others resist it. Others will criticize you, even family members.
But shine
We've
that
all
light
been there.
all the time, because you give those vibrations out into the universe, into universal consciousness. And the more that are receptive, the more this earth realm is going to vibrate and become one. Yes.
That's the yes, that's something that I really learned, I suppose, last year, was to just take care of my own vibration and just to take care of me. And because you can't change what's on the outside, you can only change what's on the inside. And the more people that do that, the more the vibration rises, the more light there is. And it's the ripple effect, isn't it? Which brings me on to one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, which was, a lot of people feel that, totally disempowered, like, how can I sort of have any effect on the world? I'm just one little person. And often we feel, even if we want to be of service to people, I think there's often that feeling of, I'm not helping enough, or I'm not having enough of an impact. But when I've had clients under hypnotherapy and I've taken them into the spirit realms, and they've looked back on their life, they're then shown how many people they've actually affected. And it's hundreds and thousands that they had absolutely no idea about. And that's the thing, isn't it?
Butterfly effect, right? This is the butterfly effect. No, I mean, it's funny. Sometimes, we think, obviously, the movie Helen's Opus, right? With Richard Dreyfuss, where
I don't know that one.
Well, he was a school teacher, right? A music teacher, right? And he never felt that he had much impact. It was just on a couple of students here and there, right? And, what he didn't realize, and of course, at the end of the movie, they show just the impact that he had on the students, the ripple effect that it had. And, we see that too, like just with a private the other day with, a man who hasn't been able to accept his son fully for being gay, because he's, an older generation, and also based in Europe, and how that healing, when that happens, the effect that it will have on the son, who's kind of, in a very visible world, that's what his son does for a living, that ripple effect, once that healing happens, it's going to go everywhere, from one soul being healed. Sorry, I got excited about that because
anything to add, guides?
I just got really excited about that. What you do matters. One little thing that you do matters a lot.
But it doesn't have to be huge, does it, to have a small effect?
It doesn't have to be huge to have a big effect. Yes, you can say that.
Great things have very small beginnings.
Yeah.
We often tell you that you're nothing more than a grain of sand on an ocean of a desert. But that grain of sand is connected to everything. It reminds us of a movie. Didn't you know you had a wonderful life?
Yes. It's interesting, the movies that are really, really popular in our consciousness, it's obvious that they're channeled. It's obvious that the reason they are so popular is because they are those universal truths, which even though we don't understand consciously, our unconscious and our heart is resonating with those messages, isn't it?
Across cultures, across religions, across everything.
Yeah.
But do you guys want to talk a little bit just about the quantum aspect of this ripple effect?
We can, a bit, if you choose.
Yes, please. Yes, but for people that are watching this and thinking, I don't feel like I have an impact on the world and the people around me. How does that ripple effect happen on the energetic, vibrational way?
Okay, we'll explain it this way. You see these bodies here. They're not what you think they are. We are not who you think we are either. We are energy beings, and so are you. This body, it appears to be real. But it's not really. It's a perception of what you are experiencing now within this vibration. This is the quantum aspect of it, the science that comes along now and starting to show you that your own perceptions of your life can be changed like that with a mere thought, if you choose.
Intention of a different projection.
Yes, you may have a different intention of what your life is going to be like with a mere thought. You are perceptions of what you believe you are. If you believe you are suffering, then you will suffer. If you believe you are in abundance, you will have abundance. If you believe that you are separated from Source God, you will be separated. However, if you believe that you are connected to all things, that is the ripple effect of the quantum portion of who you are in this universe. What you do for yourself, you do for others. Know thyself, soul. Know thy God. There is no separation. You are all divine beings, all of you. You are magic in making. You are so much more than what you perceive you are. And we are here to tell you that.
You know, and it's interesting because of all the work, you know, with Carl Jung and Albert Einstein, right? And their work, there were these snippets that were supporting this quantum ripple effect. And even though they couldn't 100% support it because of their, you know, academic and scientific, you know, positions and the, you know, negative impact that would have, is that they were there with it.
Even Einstein had to sit in his rocker and allow himself to relax and sleep so the ideas could come and filter into him through all of the different etheric layers of who you are.
Yeah, he was channeling.
Yes, you all channel.
Yeah, we do. So we are all channelers and we are all healers. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you must believe it and you must practice it. And
we have free will, don't we? So we do have to, like you said, we do have to choose to open ourselves up, and we do have to. So we do, like the angel and the angelics. They need us to give them permission to come in, don't they?
They do. Yeah.
They cannot come. Nothing can come into your auric field, into your energetic body, unless you allow it to come. That is a universal law. You could call it that.
As above, so below.
Yes.
So if you're somebody that is suffering from self-worth and doesn't feel they're worthy enough or good enough to have a connection with the angelic world, if they're not giving that permission and asking, then they're not going to be connecting, are they? So the self-love and the self-worth does sort of come into it a bit, doesn't it? If you don't think you're worthy enough, then you probably won't feel connected.
It's critical, especially for women, right? There's so much self-doubt. We had someone who does a lot of our courses, right? And she's from South America, beautiful soul. She's an MD also. And she's like, well, I don't understand how the Metatron energy can come to me. Like, why would it come to me? And it's like, well, you called it in. It's part of your guides. It's part of your ancestral, energy and connections. And, don't shut the door on it. Open it up and say, thank you. Yes, help me. Uh-oh.
Oh, who's coming?
Who's coming? So I don't know if I called Metatron through, or I'm not sure who's going to be here, but yeah, that for me, especially when I see younger women, I just want them to step into their goddess self.
I am
Magdala. Hello.
Always good to see you all the time.
Hello.
Called me. Well, you all call me.
Yeah, I was kind of getting.
Yeah.
People always say, why do I feel disconnected? That's because they don't call upon me. I will make you feel connected. I made Yeshua feel connected.
Yeah.
I assisted him. I brought him up a level.
So why not give a message to women who are feeling this self-doubt right now? I mean, we've come a long way in 2,000 years since you walked the earth plane as Magdalene, but...
And I'm here to give you this message, yes. Don't have any doubt anymore. You are free. Nobody is going to crush your bones and try to drown you and burn you and do these heinous and terrible things that they once did to all of you. Women truly are the healers. Yeah. You are the medicine women. You are the religious, you might say, the priestesses. You are the teachers, the healers, the child bearers. It's balancing now. I'm here. I don't only come through these two, but I come through many more on this earth plane. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to tell you, it's time to hear us roar. It's going to happen. It's happening now.
So to do that, women have to step back into their authentic power and speak their truth. But how do they get there if they can't even self-care for themselves because they feel guilty or they're being selfish? So how do they get through that block, that sort of that society programming that self-caring is selfish?
Yeah. A great question.
Who said it was selfish?
That's how women are conditioned and have been.
Yeah.
Who conditioned them to be like that?
Generation after generation after generation.
Is that karma?
I don't see it as karma. Some people may, but...
I'm only joking with you.
I know.
I'm telling you this. You have the abilities simply to say, no more. I'm good enough. I'm beautiful enough. I am gracious enough. I am going to give back to me, and I'm going to feel good about it. There's nothing wrong giving back to you. You should always give back to you, especially the women. Women first. Women must always give back to themselves first because of everything that they do for this earth plane. Isn't that right, Gaia?
Yeah, I mean, if we're not filled up,
so how do you do it?
How can we give back to our children and to society and community? And, you know, whether we're in a political role, an educator role, a musician, it doesn't really matter what our profession is. We have to fill ourselves up so that we can give from a place of love.
Each woman will do it in a different way.
You don't want to be giving from a place of scarcity, because then you're teaching your children and your community and your, you know, whoever you're dealing with, that you're coming from a place of lack. That's no way to teach.
No, never come from a place of lack. Always come from a place of love. As I will always say, and your guides will say, and I'll say it to you, the cup is not half full. Yeah. It's not half empty, but it's overflowing. It's always overflowing because you are constantly giving back to you first. Source will always give to you abundance, 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 so that you are always overflowing. But you must put that into practice. I had to put that into practice.
You know, here's a great analogy for moms, right? You know, sometimes people will say, which kid is your favorite? Right? You can't choose a favorite. right? Between your children, because, a child may think, well, you love this child more than me, but you don't, because there's an endless amount of love. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, right? That it just keeps flowing in this quantum universe.
Yes.
It keeps flowing.
And as a mother loves each child in a different way, they are different types of love. And self-love is a different type of love that you can give to yourself. Always give that self-love to you. It's one of the most important aspects of who you are as beings. It's okay to love yourself, to be divine, to be beautiful. We always say, and I will always say, if you're going to have an experience, soul, have the best experience in this earth realm, and always give back to yourself.
Yeah, and when you guys say that, to Angie's point, and I lived in the UK for 8 years too, and on the East Coast where there's so much guilt, right? It's not in a narcissistic way of self-love, right? Where you're first and nobody else matters. It's not that mindset. The mindset is that all this love that you're pouring out to others, you also pour into you. So that you're filled, right? You need to be filled with love in order to give.
Remember this. We are your guides now.
Aww.
Magdalene will come through and speak her mind as she does.
She does, yeah.
But we say the same thing to all of you. It is okay to simply give to yourself first. You have the expression that when you're on the airplane and the oxygen comes down, you must put it on your face first before you put
said that to a client this morning.
That's great.
It's so simple, but you must put that into practice.
But I think what a lot of women, I think lots of women are naturally more sensitive and empathic to begin with. So they want to help and they want to be of service. So they want to give, but there's an imbalance to what they give to themselves and then give out to others. And I think what I was trying to explain to my client this morning was that if we're not overflowing our own cup first, then what the energy that we're giving to others is not a positive energy. We might be doing things for them, but the energetics of it is resentment and depletion, and so energetically it's not good giving out to others if you're not doing it with that heart-centered way. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, you said it accurately,
perfectly. Yeah,
the cup must be overflowing at all times when you are giving. Because if it is not, the cup slowly goes down, down, down. You become depleted, even more depleted, and you resent. You do not like giving all of your energy away.
And that shows up energetically.
Yes,
so
it does.
Even if there's still a smile on your face,
yes,
that energy is felt, and that's what people are feeling.
That is why when you teach and you heal, you always give from the heart and make sure the energy is always flowing through you. This is why it is so important to self-care and self-love. Always give back to you all the time. It's okay to take naps.
Oh, my grandfather's back again.
So what I found interesting with again my client this morning, I mean it's no coincidence that I had this particular client this morning because she was struggling with a lot of these issues, and what was interesting was that she was able to completely self-care when she was on holiday. So when she'd paid to go somewhere on holiday, she was completely fine. She could self-care then, but when she's back in her everyday life, she just couldn't feel like she could give herself even, that half an hour bath or whatever. She always felt like she had to be doing or giving. So that's interesting, isn't it? That if you pay for the retreat or the sound bath or the holiday, then it's almost like you're giving yourself permission because you've paid for it. To then self-care.
How about this for an idea? How you book a meeting with a client, right? How about you write yourself a check for a meeting with yourself?
Yeah. And you pay yourself in Always.
Yes, you're writing a check to yourself for an appointment with yourself between 3 and 4 for a massage or a bath or whatever it happens to be.
I'm going to nick that, Renee. I'm going to use that. Yeah.
Always pay yourself first. Always invest in you first. Because if you don't...
How do we get rid of the guilt? How do we get rid of that?
You decide, it's funny because Tony Robbins, right? Love him or hate him. I've done a lot of his work and, I love his teachings. And, he kind of talks about it just from a moment of the instant you make a decision to do so, it becomes so, right? Yeah. It's not like get out of your head and just decide, right? Get out of the guilt because that's someone else's story. Do you want to paint a canvas with someone else's story? Your grandparents and your great-grandparents and your great-great-parents' story? You don't want to. You want to create your own canvas of your life. So it's really just a decision, right? I decide, to do away with these preconceived ideas that are not my stories, not my canvas, not my life.
Make the decision to do away with the guilt and then practice giving yourself self-care all the time.
It can be
the more
little.
That you practice it, the more you start to vibrate. And again, you're opening up that portal to yourself and you love what's happening. It's happening. You feel it. You feel it.
Yeah.
And then it slowly goes away, this guilt that you've allowed yourself to experience in this lifetime. An experience. That's all it is. You no longer need that experience anymore. It doesn't serve you anymore.
It doesn't serve us.
You've learned from it. You've experienced it many times in all the other previous lives, but now you can let it go.
Yeah, and it can start very small, like a walk in nature, right? Because nature is always really a great way to connect to spirit, regardless of whether you live in Manhattan, Dublin, or, a small village in Northern England, right? It doesn't really matter. It's just...
We understand that mothers have a great deal of guilt, but they shouldn't. They do so much already.
So... what's happening in this time on Earth? Because, a lot of us are breaking out of those old patterns, those old programmings. And one of the reasons I'm doing these soul chat interviews is that I want to talk to way showers and teachers that are forging a new way forward. And but can the guides kind of talk about what's happening on this planet with the ascension process, and what is the ascension process to anybody that's watching who has maybe heard that word used but doesn't really understand what it means?
Okay, now we're going to become a bit quantum on you.
Great.
You asked, what's happening on this planet, on Earth, or what's happening on Earth? And then we ask you the question, which Earth are you talking about? You see, there are multiple layers of your Earth realm. The more that we will say, as you say, ascend, you will affect all of the vibrations upon all of the different Earth realms. If one Earth realm is in a very low vibration, it brings the other one down, you could say. But if it's in a high vibration, it brings the other one up. They keep going up, 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 up. You all are having multiple experiences simultaneously in different Earth realms. How is that possible? That is the quantum aspect of who you are. That is the subatomic particles of what you are made of. You see, what you do here in this particular realm, if you ascend, the other Earths, the other yous, ascend with you. That is why this little grain of sand that you see yourself as in this earth plane is affecting all of the other grains of sand of you, and they're all going up, which is affecting the entire desert. of all of the sand. This is why it's so important. No matter how small you think you are, you have an enormous effect on all of the other yous within this universe and beyond.
In quantum physics, they have something called the double slit experiment and this whole observer effect, right? How things are changed simply by being observed in this quantum universe. And so
that's right.
Our observation of something matters.
Your
right?
perception of it
Our perception
will change the vibration and the ascension of what's going on.
Back to the butterfly
so
effect.
What ascension really is a raising of consciousness. Is that what
that is the effect of it?
Okay.
Yes. The result of your vibrations becoming faster and faster, your consciousness becomes more awake. You become more one with your higher self and source energy. You see, you become your true blueprint, or as Magdalene would always say, your authentic self again.
You become connected to the all. You become non-dual like the non-dualist, right?
But if you want to look at it as an ascension process, you can. That's fine also.
It's raising and like the guides say, the effect is raising the consciousness, right? This collective consciousness, the more that it raises, the more we become
It really doesn't
focused.
raise the consciousness. It simply enlivens it, invigorates it, energizes it.
To become back to the whole, right? So it's more about this unity, maybe unity consciousness is really what we're moving towards, hopefully.
And I suppose as we move up and we have a higher perspective, then all of a sudden we realize that we're not alone in the universe, that we have galactic heritage, we have had galactic experiences ourselves. So maybe that's a good time to sort of talk about galactics and why, again, lots of people are connecting with their galactic heritage now, especially the Pleiadians seem to be very, very strong.
That's a good topic to end on, right?
We suppose. Pleiadians, star seeds, galactic. Okay. Star seeds. Let's talk about that just quickly. What is a star seed anyway? Well, you're star seeds. Who are aliens? Well, you're aliens. Who are the galactic? Well, you are the galactic. You see, you're part of everything. Human beings truly are the great experiment, as we call it. You are made of many different galactic star beings, many different energies, mostly of Palladian, of course, but they like to take
too much credit
for everything. But you do share a great
amount. What you say, because I do love the Pleiadians.
The Pleiadians are a very highly ascended race of individuals. Now, the reason why human beings are connecting much more now with galactic beings is because they want to.
They're more open.
Your indigenous Aborigines, American Indians, all of them, shamans, Wiccans, they all connected with
the stars,
star beings.
Yep.
The Egyptians did.
Yep.
Babylonians did. They all did. But it's changed to where you thought you can't do that anymore. But that was only for a very short period of time in
relatively
history.
Speaking, right? It's a couple thousand years, but it's
very small.
Very small.
But it's happening now more and more and more and more. You see, the galactic are here to assist you as well on your ascension.
Or whatever you want to call it. We don't really like that. I don't personally
on your
like that
unification
word.
of
Better.
your consciousness. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think it's
the problem with these buzzwords like star seeds and ascension. They kind of get hijacked, and twin flames is another one that is just kind of, there's so much misunderstanding.
Quantum healing. I mean, it's funny because we do actually sometimes use quantum healing, but I do I do sympathize with scientists and quantum physicists who are like, oh my God, these healers are just taking the word. They don't really understand what it means. And now they're doing quantum healing. So I get it. I get it. We do need to really understand the implications of overusing words, right, without completely understanding them. So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
we can't.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of, I'm just looking at all my questions that I had that I haven't sort of like had time to ask, and
That's okay. You know what we can wrap on? Love.
Yeah,
that's the most important lesson from all of this. That's a good thing to wrap on.
So how do people get more in touch with their heart center? How would they practically have a practice to do that?
How do you do that? We're going to say something that you don't like us saying. We don't know. You see, we really don't know. Because
each soul has their own journey.
Each soul has multiple probabilities of how it's going to happen. How did you do it? How did you get there?
I think everyone's
going to open to something different. So sometimes people are like, God, I really resonate with this goddess.
Let her speak. How did you do it, Angela? Angel.
I did it through sound. When I started doing playing the gongs and the crystal bowls and the Tibetan bowls, and also singing. So singing,
You see, we come through sounds. Yeah. We come through motion. Sounds are waves. We ride the waves like surfers. We infiltrate through your heart, and that's how we open you up. That's one way of many. So how do the viewers connect to their higher selves? Well, how do you want to do it? Do you want to do it through a gong bath, Tibetan bowls, crystal bowls?
Do you want to do it through art? Do you want to do it through magic and divination?
Do you want to do it through dance? Anything that touches your heartstrings, and we pluck them, we come into your auric field because you allow us to, because that's your intention.
And for the more analytical people, right, they can connect through sacred geometry and numbers, as our dear friend Anne does, right? So you can connect through numbers, sacred shapes, walking the mandala. I mean, there's so many different walking labyrinths, right?
Are the witches.
Hanging out in nature.
Yes.
Hanging out in nature.
Connecting with the nature beings, right?
The elementals.
The elementals are hanging out and doing an indigenous, the shamanic drums around a fire.
Yes.
How fun is that? We still love doing that.
So we don't have to consciously know what's going, but as long as we're connecting with the heart. So really, it's simple, isn't it? We humans, or our human ego wants to make it so complicated, but really, just do something that makes you smile, just something that brings you joy, and that is heart centering.
It's like that. I
do what you love, not what you do not love.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I remember because I believe that I also run a travel magazine on the side, and so we've done a lot of travel, and there was this billboard, not even a billboard, it was just this little sign that we had seen in this tiny little village in Oregon, of all places, and there was a Snoopy dog, right, and he had his nose up in the air and he's twirling around, and it's a well-known saying, of course, but it's like dance as if no one's watching, right?
Yeah.
It's feeling that you're just in your zone, you're in this place of bliss. And, and I remember this image on this, this rundown town, right? On the side of this dog, just like blissfully happy, like dancing up in the air as if no one's watching. So it's really getting into your zone of flow, creativity, and joy. Right.
Is there any message that you want to leave us with before you step back? I know you don't leave.
We never leave.
Final parting words.
We will always tell you this we are in your most intimate settings. We like that because we really are. We are there, whatever you're doing. We never leave. You simply need to open yourselves up to us. In parting, we will say this. Love. Love, love, love. That's who we are.
Yeah.
And that's who you are. Don't forget that. Always come back to love. That is the most important aspect. If there is one permanence in this universe and beyond, then that is the energy of love. That's who you are.
And to add to that, when you're in the crazy place in your everyday life and these triggers come up, right? You know, just ask yourself, are you plugging into a grid of fear when you respond to it? Or are you plugging into a grid of love? There's really one or the other.
And don't take yourself so seriously all the time. Play more, have more fun, love more. And with that, we take leave.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for coming through and talking to me today.
Thank you for receiving us. Om is the vibration of this universe. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Hari Om. Peace, love, joy, and gratitude is who you truly are. Give these vibrations to others, and you will see and find who you truly are in this lifetime. We will speak with you later.
Thanks.
As we always do. Always an honor and privilege, Angela. Angel. Now you've found yourself, haven't you? Your true self. Your authentic blueprint of God.
Off they go, but as they said, they never really leave. But my Italian stallion's going to come back now.
Your Italian cherub.
Yeah, right. He's a little of both. You back?
Hi, welcome back.
Oh my God, Angie, this has been great. Thank you so much for this. This has just been
thank you.
Beautiful time spent with you.
And I mean, it's another gift of COVID is we've all gone online and we're all connecting online. Whereas, you know, when I first came across you 2 months ago, I was kind of like, where have these people been? I am so aligned with their teachings. It's, you know, where have they been? And of course, you know, it's because you weren't so online, your presence wasn't so much, you know, you've been doing a lot where you live, haven't you? So it's been a real, you know, gift for me to find you. And
same here. We can't wait to come to England and hang out with you. And
it'll be wild.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll do a fun retreat together there sometime. When this opens up and we can travel again. But
I've got gongs. We'll travel everywhere, anywhere.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, we can combine our bowls and just have a.
So before I go, before you go and get on with your day, so can you just tell everybody how they can connect with you if people want to connect with you? Maybe have a private session, or you do group sessions as well, don't you? And and your online courses as well. What are you offering at the moment?
So our main website is www.bluesoulearth.com, and there you can find pretty much everything. So on there you can book a private session with us. There are group sessions, couple sessions, and then Right on the homepage, you'll see Study with Spirit, right? Study with Spirit is kind of our umbrella where we teach courses and workshops, and Blue Soul Circles kind of fall under that as well. And we also have an advanced course for people who really want to go. It's an advanced program for people who want to go deep. So we're starting our Masters 2 program on May 8th.
Yay! I've joined. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You're in the program, right? So May 8th, we're going to be doing Masters 2. And then for those who want to come into Masters 1, we'll be offering that again starting in November for the Masters 1 program. But we're always doing courses and workshops and different things. We just finished a thing on sacred geometry. Our community has been asking for something on crystals and sound healing. We did we're in the middle of how to connect with your guides. On May 1st, we're going to be offering a workshop, which is convenient for England, actually.
Yes, it's going to be. It's a daytime one.
11 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday. So that's your evening, not too late. So that's going to just be a Saturday workshop on what is the soul. And we're going to go deep into the soul, the Merkaba body, the energy body, and the layers of the soul. So that's going to be super cool, and how it's all connected
and
to the
with
chakras.
That, all of the guides will always come through. After Renee and I will do some teaching, they always come through.
Yeah, so people can ask questions directly to the guides, and we always do energy transmissions and healings in every single class. Yeah. And then the other thing that's been asked about that we're going to do is we're going to do a 4-week course on the Melchizedek energy, because Metatron and Melchizedek are 2 energies that we channel quite a bit. And I'm sure over the summer we'll do something on Magdalene, because she's always eager to come through.
She really likes to talk, doesn't she? I mean, she does.
She's much more talkative than I am.
Yeah. So for Magdalene lovers, or for those who didn't know who she was before now, as I didn't 5 or 6 years ago, just even if you're curious about her energy, come on board, because that'll be a fun one. And I don't know, I would say, I love, Angie, that you said, hey, at the beginning, subscribe to our YouTube, because that's a place where we do post things, and we are trying to grow our audience there. So that's just youtube.com/Blue Soul Earth. And we did launch a podcast about 3-4 weeks ago. So it's relatively new, but that's anchor.fm.
So a lot of most of the people kind of that I connect with are on social media. So you have got a Facebook page as well.
Oh yeah. So we're
some live plays and things on there.
Yeah. So we have a public Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/Blue Soul Earth. We have a private group, which is facebook.com/groups/Blue Soul Circles. So that's a private group. Just say, hey, you heard us.
Okay, I'm not in that yet. I'll have to get on that.
Yeah, just come on over. It's it's just a lovely place where you can share. And of course, we're pretty active on Instagram at Blue Soul Earth, and not as active on Twitter, but we are there on Twitter on Blue Soul Earth.
Well, there's only so many hours in the day, isn't there?
I know, there's so much, but we are on really all the platforms, and we are on Clubhouse.
Isn't it interesting how we are all already multidimensional and quantum in the way that we're connecting? We just don't realize it.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, and then of course Clubhouse isn't visual. That's the one challenge with it, but we did just start 2 clubs, and we don't know what we're going to do with them yet, but one is on the Ascended Masters, and the other one is on Magdalene, of course, and the feminine and masculine energy divines. So Yeshua will probably come through too. So
I love to see you, and I love when the guides are joking. There's that little smirk, that little guide smirk that comes across Anthony's face. And Anthony, what happens to you when they come through? Where are you, and how aware of everything are you? And I know that sometimes the guides will say things and they'll say, well, Anthony doesn't agree with this, or this is not what Anthony thinks. So that's interesting, I think, for people, because it shows you that it's not our own ego that's driving it, that there is higher perspectives coming in.
Yeah.
So
I'm
where
sorry,
am
go
I?
ahead, 'cause I was just going to bring up
I'm definitely aware of everything that's going on.
and remembers afterwards.
Mostly in members.
Mostly.
I'm able to do everything. I mean, they can drink water. they'll drink wine. They'll cook. They'll clean. They can do anything now.
They helped decorate our Christmas tree this year.
So where am I? I feel like I'm just everywhere. Like I'm just floating. That's what it feels like.
A head with wings.
Yeah. It's like a cherub, right? I'm a head with wings, as they say. But that's what it feels like.
I was just going to bring up the two other examples of two other channels that we like a lot, and that's the Cryon, right? Lee Carroll and Cryon, and Paul Selig, right? So because Paul Selig also channels the Melchizedek energy, as do we, and sometimes in their books you'll hear, Lee's getting in the way again, or they'll say, Paul doesn't like this message, and our guides will say the same thing. Anthony doesn't want to say this, but
because our smaller egos and our limiting beliefs and our programming is kind of like that doesn't compute, and we're trying to resist, aren't we?
That's so true. Yeah. For anyone who channels, and when you're in that state, you are, it feels like they're talking to me. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. How am I going to say that? That's it. Just let it go. And that's what you do as a channeler or as a healer. You get out of the way and you let your higher self and everything else work through.
So I've channeled the seraphim when I'm under hypnosis. So so what I want to do is more consciously channel, like you're able to channel, and I've working through my fears about stepping out into that, because you are putting yourself out there to to get a whole load more kind of
really are.
Just remember
it's kind of
race.
Really,
it's not a race.
Really, you have to be so so confident in who we are and so aligned with our own self that we lose that fear of judgment from others, don't we?
Yes.
But one thing that we didn't cover that I think is really important, I won't keep you very much longer, is that sort of, I would say that if you're getting messages that is not loving, compassionate and completely supportive, then that isn't really your guides, is it? They will always be compassionate, loving and supportive, isn't it? So if you're getting something else,
they are,
I mean, they sometimes give some tough love, but I think if there's any political agenda, or they're trying to steer you away, if they sometimes do steer you away from things that may not necessarily be of best interest for you, but they will always give you personal choice. Always remember that. So if any guide is trying to tell you what to do, or really kind of confine you, then something's off there.
And I think if it's critical, then that's usually the ego, isn't it? Because that again is on it's on a lower resonance of fear rather than that higher resonance of love. And that's one of the ways that we can actually then discern and get confidence in what we're getting, because we can feel whether that's a loving vibration, a higher vibration or a lower vibration. And like I said, the more you do it, the more you can, instead of seeing black and white, you can see all the different shades of grey in between.
Yes, most definitely. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll let you go and finish doing out the car, Renee.
Thank you. And I'm sure we will see you soon.
You'll see me on Sunday night on Ann Perry's Master Number 11 group.
Oh, great.
So, see you then, and have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Angie.
Bye.
Bye.